Welcome to the Green Building Show, where we investigate green design and building trends throughout Australia.
In this series of the Green Building Show, we've been looking at the renovation errors homeowners make through the expertise of 6 professionals. In our final episode, our 2 sustainability experts, real estate agent, property valuer, builder and architect will share their tips for the DIY renovator. So let's get started.
A DIY person is more suited from a property valuation aspect to a long-term play where they can start minor projects within the home, finish them first and then start the second. And they do that, they spread that renovation task, internal or external, over a number of years and roll out the project slowly.
Don't assume. Plan, research, and if you're not sure, engage an expert to help you.
Before you attempt to do any structural work, we advise that you talk to an architect or a town planner to see what the local codes require you to meet. Because some councils have different requirements on development control plans. They have their own interpretation of what you can and can't do. So that's critical. So you can also go to local councils yourself and speak to the town planning divisions of most councils, and they're more open these days than what they were, and they're very helpful in assisting people in their renovation projects. So that aspect is important as well for planning.
Get people to help. If you can't afford people to help, then seriously think about doing less. Don't take on too much, especially when you don't know what you're doing.
Up front, you need to have a timeline of your budget to roll out the renovations.
You should always try to focus on how to spend your money wisely. It's not always on a splash of colour and flair, it's providing the needs of the home for the family that are living in there.
Some of the most common mistakes are waterproofing issues. They don't take their time in preparing for the waterproofing and with flashings with roof and just the stuff, the detail stuff, which could be a concern of later. A lot of the times, if that's done correctly, then the extent of the renovation can go quite smoothly, and 6 months down the track, everything's there's not going to have any issues later on.
Get good advice. Don't go into it blindly, and you'll get a much better product.
You get a lot of rise and damp, and a lot of people don't treat that while they're renovating. So during that time, they might have put a coat of paint on what, so the rise and damp is still occurring. So 3 to 6 months down the track, you get bubbling of the paint. You can see some mould stains. So a lot of these things have got to be treated during that time of renovation, because a lot of these things take maybe 4 to 6 months to actually work. Storage within a home is very important these days, and you need as much space as you can. Get the professionals in to do a job where it could cause you issues later on, so that's done right.
If you're buying to renovate to sell in terms of making profit, then don't pick the tiles that are $150 a square metre. If they're just a really lovely white tile, or go for a porcelain as opposed to maybe a marble in the bathroom. At the end of the day, simple does sell, and floor plan's really key, but I wouldn't go crazy with your finishes or picking something that may not appeal to a broad audience.
Don't take any shortcuts.
I'd look at whether you need a carport, garage, whether you need landscaping, what sort of finishes, clean lines, even from an external perspective. More clean lines, the more neutral the clean lines, the better.
Some of the other common mistakes is just rushing through the product themselves just to get it back on the market, and a lot of times when you're rushing stuff hasn't dried, and there's a lot of curing time for certain products to work correctly, and this doesn't happen a lot of the times when people are renovating, because they're obviously their focus is their return, their income, and so if this stuff isn't done, it can come back to bite them in the bum, months, maybe years down the track.
Don't take on things that you are not experienced to deal with.
Not preparing the surface properly when painting. and that, in my eye, it doesn't look really crash hot when you come in and you've got a freshly painted house that you've renovated, but the finishes aren't that crash hot. The surface hasn't been prepared properly.
What happens with the finish?
Well, you can see it's uneven. You can still see the crack and the hairline cracks underneath the surfaces. Sometimes it's better to get those right and get a professional in to prepare those for you if you want to do the painting yourself, or even get a professional in to basically get in there and prepare it and paint it himself.